Hello everyone, and for those of you on YouTube, you don't have a camera, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to this scene here. I hope you are doing well. This is another edition of Travel the World as a Speaker, and today we're going to talk about how to negotiate a speaking gig. Now, I typically come here at 7 o'clock on Eastern time, which is like 5 o'clock Mountain time where I am, but I actually have a really good book to read. I know, it's so crazy. I have an amazing book that I want to read, so that's why I'm coming early. I know, this is like so crazy, but you know, I get to do this because I want to. But we're going to have some really good information, and with that, I am Phylecia Jones, your host of Travel the World as a Speaker, and this show is brought to you by iFind, You Close, where we actually go out and find speaking opportunities for you and deliver them to you every Monday. So if you need help finding speaking engagement so that you can travel the world, grow your business, or build your authority, come check us out at iFindYouClose.com. So excited about that. Just actually finished doing a presentation about iFind You Close too. And as you can see, I got my books. Here's my handy little Kindle. I am ready to go as soon as we're done doing this. But what we do here, we talk about two of my favorite things, and that is traveling and speaking. And that is being able to leverage speaking so that you can travel the world. And one of the things that you have to do a lot of when it comes to this is know how to negotiate a speaking gig. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips when it comes to negotiating. I'm going to tell you a travel story, and we're going to get into our content. Now, my travel story today is what I do when I travel. And I actually do love reading when I travel. Now, I'm getting of an age now where I have to take my glasses off because I read so much that everything is just blurry. Or I'm just getting old. I don't know. But I love my book. And I used to be one of those people that would take a whole bunch of paper books with me. And then, of course, I run out because I read a book like within like 2 hours. So this Kindle, oh my gosh, this little Kindle thing, it has gone everywhere, and I will read it in the drop of a hat. I have read so many books on this thing. So it's always hilarious to people, for me, when people say, you know what, I read 60 books this year. I was like, yeah, I read like 60 this month. But that is the one thing. So that's the one thing I have to have when I'm traveling. If I don't have anything to read, I do get a little, I don't know, jittery. So tell me, what's the one thing that you have to have when you are traveling? And I will read just about anything. And if I can't do that, I will read a newspaper. That is what I do. All right, so that is the story for the day. So let's go ahead and jump into this content because I got a good book to read. All right, I'm not going to even tell you what it's about because it's that's a whole different story. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to negotiate a speaking gig, especially for those of you who are wanting to leverage speaking so that you can travel. Now, I'm going to check my sound really quick. All right, I think my sound is doing good over here. Hopefully you're hearing me okay on the gram. All right, so if you got any questions, put them in the comment box. Now, here's the thing when it comes to negotiating. You have 3 ways you can do this. 3 ways when it comes to negotiating a speaking gig. Hey, Sharana, how you doing with these 3 things podcast? I hope you're doing well. You still have to WhatsApp me, okay? Hope you are doing well. So here's the thing when it comes to negotiating a speaking gig. You got 3 ways to do it. You can set your rates, put them on your website, and people can either say yay or nay and keep it moving, because some people are just not into the negotiating thing. So if negotiating is not your thing, then this is what you do. You put your rates on your website, and when people say, what's your rates? Send them, you have your rates done, and you don't waffle, you don't do anything. And you could tell people like, look, I don't negotiate. I told you I cost $10,000. That's it. If you don't have it, I'm going to go back in the basement and read my book. So that's one way. The second way is to, is there a second way? I think there's a second way. The second way is to kind of ask, what's your budget? So you kind of let them present the number first, and then you can make some decisions on whether or not you can work within their allotted budget. Hey, Crystal Harris, how you doing? What you can do, so when you are in the process of negotiating and somebody calls up and say, hey, Crystal, I want you to come and speak for me. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's great. Before I say yes, you got a whole bunch of questions you ask. And then your last question is, what's your budget? Now, this is where it gets fun when it comes to negotiating. If they say, well, we have a budget of $7,500, now you can decide whether or not that will work for you. And you can say, you can hem and haw like, yeah, I typically charge 10, but I can work for 7,500. Now, because that's one way of negotiating, seeing what they have and you deciding if it's a yes. The third way is when somebody reaches out and wants you to come and speak is you just tell them your fee straight up front. That's it. No way around it. So if somebody comes and says, Crystal, we want you to come speak for my event, and you're like, cool, I charge $10,000. That's it. That's it. You could they can either take it or leave it. Now, when it comes to the negotiating part is whether or not somebody comes back and says, hey, I really can't, I know Crystal's saying that's aspirational, but so what will happen if Crystal says, you know what, my fee is $10,000, and the event will come back and say, well, we only have 5,500. Now this, like I said, this is where the negotiating piece gets interesting. You can either decide to engage or not engage. That's really what it comes down to. Now there's multiple phases of this negotiating part, but you have to decide, like, here's my rate, take it or leave it. Or here's my rate, yeah, I'm open to negotiating. Or, you know what, tell me what your budget is, and then we'll negotiate inside of that. So you got to really kind of figure out how you want to play. I won't say it's a game, but how you really want to play this game. Or you can be like some people, put it on your website, here's my fee, so that, you know what, they already know. You don't even have to talk to them. They can go to your website and kind of figure it out from there. Now, that's just one step of this negotiating process. Now, if you are speaking at an event and you're not getting paid, or you felt them out and you realize they're not getting paid, now you have to figure out what it is that you are interested in negotiating. Now, you can negotiate for the video of the event. You can negotiate for other recommendations to other events. You can also negotiate for photos. You can negotiate to get a list of the people coming to the event. There's so many things when it comes to this negotiating phase of speaking. The other thing you can do, for those of you, if I've talked to you before, I told you need to have a product. The other thing you can do, if it's an event you really want to be a part of, all you can say is like, look, I have a digital course, it's $25. Do you think you can find a sponsor who can purchase it for $10 for everybody coming to the event? So the thing, what I really want to get across to you when it comes to negotiating is you need to be prepared. Hands down. You need to be prepared to negotiate. And what happens is we get so excited when, I call up, hey, Sunterfly, how you doing? I call up Crystal and like, oh my gosh, Crystal, I love you. Crystal, we've never met, but hey, I can call up Crystal and like, oh my gosh, I saw you on Instagram. I love you so much. I want you to come and speak for my event. Now, the thing is, Crystal needs to be prepared for when somebody comes and does this, because what usually happens is we get so excited and Crystal will be like, yes, I'll come and speak. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, what did I get myself into? So before you even get down to this phase of negotiating, I want you to ask questions first. Who am I speaking to? What do you want me to talk about? How do you see me fitting in? How long am I going to be on stage? Do you even want me in person? Do you want me to, oh, she's traveling noir. Yeah. Do you want me to be virtual? You got to ask all these questions first so that you can kind of know what you're dealing with when it comes to that final piece of negotiating. So ask questions first, okay? That is the first step when it comes to negotiating. Ask questions first. Now, I'm also leaning on to the fact that people are contacting you, okay? So when people are contacting you, ask questions before you say yes. And your last question is, what is your budget? And Crystal is from the Travel Noir group. So, hey, how are you doing? So there are a whole bunch of things that you need to be prepared for. And what happens with a lot of us is we're just not prepared for negotiating. Sometimes we can get into FOMO mode and just say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to do this. And then next thing you know, like, why am I giving you my kidney to come speak on stage? I don't understand. So I want you to be very, very prepared. Figure out what it is that you want to negotiate for. If it's to be paid, have that already in your brain ready to go. Because trust me, when you're prepared like this, negotiations aren't really that hard. You just got to figure out what line what line you're not willing to cross and where you're going to stand. Okay. That's what it comes down to. And a lot of people don't really like negotiating because now it's like, I feel like I'm being sold to. I'm feeling like it's usually because we're just not prepared. Now, and the second level of understanding, if you want to negotiate for money, be ready to go with it. And outside of that, what else are you willing to negotiate with? You got to have all these backup plans. So if I come to Sharana and say, I want you to come speak, and I say I don't have a budget, and Sharana may come back like, look, give me first class plane tickets for my entire family and 1 week at the Ritz-Carlton. I know it sounds crazy to do that, but it can work. I've actually negotiated with hotels for speaking in exchange for thousands and thousands of travel points. But you need to know what the points are worth, okay? Oh, cool. Crystal is going to join iFind You Close. I understand, Crystal. You're going to get there. Don't worry about it. We're going to get you there. So this is what it really comes down to when it comes to negotiating. You just need to be prepared. You need to have your rates in your brain all ready, because I know a lot of people say, where do I start? How much do I charge? My recommendation is to always start at $1,200, even if you are new. And I know you're like, whoa. Even if you are new, I want you to start at $1,200, because then you can actually start negotiating to something that makes sense to you. And what I'm trying to say is, so if you start at 12 and the event only can afford you at 500, at least you'll know that, because it's going to come out in the talking phase of all of this. And then you'll have to decide, will you cut your rates for the $1,200? Now, the other thing that you have to realize when it comes to negotiating is, I always say that that she who speaks a number first, always loses. So that's where you have to kind of play this little game of what's your budget. Because let's just say I am, and Crystal, thank you for letting me pick on you tonight. If I do come to Crystal and I ask Crystal, what's your rate? She says 500. Guaranteed, this is what it usually happens. Either one or two things. I'll say yes first, and then I'll say, you know what, we did have a budget of $2,000, but I'm good. I'm glad that you said 500, because now we get to use the money for something else. And what's going to happen? Crystal's going to go home and be like, seriously? Y'all had $2,000 and I said 500. And you can't change it. You can't change it after that. So that's why you need to get them to say the number first. And if they don't, you need to figure out what is your rate. If they say yes fast, you didn't ask for enough, and just learn the next time. Now, one of the methods that I have used when it comes to negotiating is, every time I get paid to speak, I will either increment it up by $250 for the next event, and definitely going into the next one, that is my rate. So if I get paid $8,000, one of my very first gigs, I got paid $8,000. So from that point on, my rate was $8,000. Now, when they came back and told me like, well, we only have 5, and I was like, okay, but I really like your organization, so I can actually do it for 5. That's why you have to ask those questions in the beginning. Does that make sense? You got to ask those questions in the beginning. Who is the group? What's the audience? Because you may be able to use that later on. And I know it sounds very gamey. But unfortunately, that's kind of what this is. It's kind of a game. Now, like I said, that's one way to do it. Now, if you're one of these people like, I don't have time for that, set your rate. They take it or leave it. Now, the thing is, you got to be okay with walking away, or somebody walking away from you. That's where you have to be okay. And I will say this, not all money is the money that's supposed to come into your bank account. Even if it's $35,000, sometimes that may not be the money that you need, because you can get yourself into some trouble as well. All right, y'all. Now, this is all I have for you when it comes to negotiating. So like I said, you only have 3 things to do. Put your rates on your website, and you don't even have to worry. People can select out. You can play the game of what's your budget, and she who speaks first loses. Just remember that. And then you can also just set your rate. They can take it or they can leave it. You have to make that decision of where you are when it comes to negotiating, what you're willing to work with, and how much back and forth you're willing to take. I mean, that's basically what it is. Nowadays, I mean, because sometimes we already know, like, look, it's just $5,000 for me to put Spanx on. Like, period. If I got to put Spanx on, it is $5,000. Now, you don't have to be like me, but that's what it's going to take for me to like put some clothes on these days. So that's all I have for you. Hopefully this was useful. Crystal, thank you for letting me pick on you for the evening. And as you know now, Crystal's rates are now $10,000 whenever you want her to do anything for an hour. So there you go, Crystal. Hopefully that worked out for you. So with that, that is the end of this show. Hopefully you learned quite a bit. Of course, you can come check us out at iFindYouClothes.com. Over on my Instagram world, just check the link somewhere up here in the bio. You can go check us out at iFindYouClothes. Everybody here on YouTube, you know I appreciate you. Have an amazing evening. I came on early because I'm going to go read my book. It's a juicy one. So excited. So take care of yourself. Of course, any questions, put them in the comment box and I will be here. See you tomorrow. Bye on Instagram. All right, everyone else here on YouTube, you know I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and I will see you tomorrow after I read my book.